Minions is the prequel slash spin-off movie to the Despicable Me movies, and what this one's about is basically showing the origin of how the Minions came to what they are today. What their species does is serve the biggest, baddest villain around. When they can't find a villain, three minions, Kevin, Stuart, and Bob, go out to find a new villain. Henceforth, they find Scarlet Overkill. I was really excited for this movie because I was a little skeptical when they first announced the Minions movie. I mean, for one, the Minions are the best part to the Despicable Me movies. But on the other hand, I don't know how long I can listen to people talk gibberish for an hour and a half. But those trailers looked really good. I gotta say, they really edited those trailers really well because it made me really want to see Minions. It made it look fantastic. Jeffrey Rush was the narrator, and Scarlet Overkill is being played by Sandra Bullock, and Michael Keaton's in this movie? The original Batman besides Adam West? This is gonna be awesome! And unfortunately, Minions is just decent. That's it. Let's start off with the pros. The animation looks incredible. Not as good as Pixar, but they look so good in this movie. The Minions look great, the people look great, the water looks great, everything about this movie looked really fantastic. And the characters, Kevin, Stuart, and Bob, who we focus on mainly, they had great chemistry with each other. Even though it's played by one guy, the director, and they're talking gibberish, you can actually feel a relationship with these three people. And that's kind of surprising, because I never thought in my life I'd actually care for people that talk gibberish and were little and yellow. But hey, I do, and that's really cool. And the jokes, for the most part, they had some really cool references, and some really cool, like, dirty jokes that some kids might not be able to get yet. But for me, who can get it, I thought it was hilarious. And there were some other jokes that weren't, you know, dirty or references that were actually good too. But this is where we're gonna lead into our flaws. There are a lot of jokes in this movie that are clearly aimed for kids, because there are a couple times where Minions just fall down and the kids in the theater just laughed. So it's not aimed for a lot of adults or families, it's really just aimed for kids. And that's another big flaw with this movie, is the first two Despicable Me movies, they felt like you could watch it with your whole family and you'd all have a great time. But with this movie, it just feels like it's made for the kids. And another thing about the first two movies, those two movies actually had a really good message to it, and it actually had some kind of touching moments throughout. This movie doesn't have any touching moments throughout, and it doesn't really have a message for kids or anyone, really. First two had great messages. This movie has no message. Basically, buy Minions merchandise. And hey, that's why they made this movie, right? So people can buy more Minions merchandise for their kids. And it's probably going to happen because a lot of people are going to be seeing Minions this weekend. And it's going to be #1, like $100 million, I think. Nah, maybe too high. Or not. But yeah, people will buy Minion stuff. Another really disappointing aspect to this whole movie was that they kind of wasted what could have been an actually great Minions movie. There's one segment where they're in this car with this Nelson family who actually are like really evil, even the kids, and that was hilarious. I thought if the whole movie centered around the Nelson family, that it could have ended up really good, and it would have added in a family element. Like the first two movies had the family element with Gru and the girls, but this has this family element for like 1 minute, and then they just completely get rid of it for a really bland villain. And yes, Sandra Bullock as Scarlet Overkill, they built her up to be the greatest supervillain of all time, and what does she do? She punches a couple guys. She flies around in a dress rocket thing. Doesn't really do anything that great, though. In the trailer, as you know, she sends the Minions to steal the Queen's crown, and she could have just done it herself. Like, later on in the scene, she proves that she was fully capable the whole time to get in. But no, let's send the Minions in so Sandra Bullock has nothing to do and the Minions can have some slapstick stuff. And that was fine. I liked the Minions throughout the whole movie, but if you really want to prove that Scarlet Overkill is the greatest villain of all time, give her something to do. Instead, she's put in the corner. Actually, Herb Overkill, her husband, was actually kind of better than her too. He had some funny lines. But even he didn't have a chance to shine as the husband to the greatest supervillain of all time. They just really just breeze over them so we can get to more Minion slapstick. That's why I think a whole movie with the Nelson family could have worked, so you can actually have some progression with characters as the family with the Minions interacting with them. But no, let's waste it on this one idea. That's fine. Forget the actually good Nelson family idea. No, we got Scarlet Overkill. Yeah! So guys, the Minions were great, their chemistry was really good, the animation looks great, and a few jokes actually work, but this movie really does suffer on the fact that this is more aimed towards kids instead of families, because you've got some lame kid jokes, like a few Minions falling down on their face. You've got no moral whatsoever, so it's basically just a bunch of Minion slapstick, and you've got some pretty bland villains. And the fact that they wasted Michael Keaton is also a crime. So guys, I can't really recommend this movie based on the fact that it's just not as good as the first two Despicable Me movies. If you asked me, hey Jackson, we're gonna watch the Despicable Me movies, and do you think we should watch the prequel first, or do you want us to just watch Despicable Me first? I would say, watch Despicable Me and completely forget about Minions. That's what I do. I'm gonna give Minions a C+. I was really looking forward to this, and it just doesn't live up to the hype the first two movies had. But if you saw Minions, leave in the comments below of what you thought of it. And this weekend, the 500 subscriber video will be coming out. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.